And if you've been here since before noon, there's a few. Wow, it's very impressive. So, yeah, special thank you to all of you who have been here for a long time today. But I also just want to say thank you to everybody who's come today. Is it anyone's first time at Gallery 400? Sorry to put people on the spot. Cool. So lots of you have been here before. We are part of the University of Illinois at Chicago. Hopefully you had a chance to check out the first of our 3 MFA shows. Next week there will be a new one, and then the following week there will be the 3rd and final show by our MFA graduating MFA students. And you all are here for the conversation with Kevin Jerome Everson and Kevin Stratman. This is part of the Voices Lecture Series, and next week we have Mario Ibarra Jr. In 2 weeks we have photo historian Robert Kilsey, and then the last one, 3 weeks from now, Aaron Manning sort of defies explanation, so I'm just going to challenge you to come see this interesting theorist, artist, person coming over from Quebec to speak with us. But tonight, for Voices, we have Kevin Jerome Everson, and doing an introduction is Kevin Stratman.
Man, I'm so proud of you guys who've sat here on these chairs who were here all day. That's really something.
I wish I had hats or
You sound really reverby.
yeah.
Hats.
Or like some kind of
Everyone's not a
swag.
hat.
No, to give them the prizes for saying
Instead of a gift bag. Okay, so I actually wrote something. I just went up and typed something. I'm going to read an intro, which I haven't done for Kevin, but this is and then we'll chill out with our conversational cable access TV show.
That's right.
Okay, so when he points his camera, you can feel it comes from a lifetime of thinking and living the cadences, histories, and politics of labor and race. His philosophy is so deeply embedded in the nuances of his work that it often doesn't come across as thinking at all. Like every master of their medium, the work feels effortless, casual. The respect Kevin has for his subjects in their facility at performing whatever profession it is they happen to be doing: water skiing, dry cleaning, snow plowing, shell gaming, moonshining, prison guarding, drag racing, is palpable. It's a profoundly respectful cinema, but one that can be equally funny, crass, sober, gentle, audacious, and melancholy. Park Lanes, like so many of Kevin's films, looks to the ways entrenched social patterns, often too large to even be noticed, let alone describable, are expressed through everyday moments. Kevin, as many of you know, is ridiculously prolific. I have never run into him when he's not in the middle of making like 3 or 4 other films. He has made, 8, 9, probably 10. I saw you like a month ago. There's probably been a feature finished since last time I saw you. Number of features, something like 120 or 30 short films, and they are expansive in style and scope, meandering between portraiture, narrative, observational cinema, experimental, reenactment, documentary-ish, he says, and every cinematic trope in between. These films are screened all over the dang place at the Berlinale, Sundance, Toronto, Rotterdam Film Festivals, the Whitney Biennial, or maybe just Whitney Museum, I'm not sure, Whitechapel Gallery, the Pompidou. I mean, I don't know, you name it, I feel like Kevin's probably screened his film there. He's been the recipient of a Rome Prize, an Alfred Award, Creative Capital Award, Guggenheim Fellowship, and countless others. But to me, it's not just the expansive reach and success of his artwork that makes Kevin and his work so indelible to me, but his really uncommon connection with younger artists from his Charlottesville cadre at the University of Virginia, but on out. Yeah, his cult, literally. I mean, I've been to his classes down there, and it's amazing. I think people who graduated years ago are still coming. It's fantastic. So without ever being dogmatic or pretentious, I think his practice and his ethos have positively infected and challenged and inspired a whole generation. And it's really, he's a filmmaker I admire more than almost any other living filmmaker. I'm so happy to have him here today with us.
That's fantastic.
You owe me one.
I do, yeah. Because like we say, all those things that she said, like Deb's got the same thing. So you got the same thing. Same
literally probably is, I don't know, how many films did you finish this week? I can start on this.
I did get
See?
an hour worth of film back yesterday, Thursday, yes, I got an hour of the 16, 50 minutes for the 16 back yesterday.
Well, maybe we could start with this. I mean, I was not as intrepid as like some of y'all were here, and I also just want to say anybody who's here, especially folks who watch the whole thing, but even if you know Kevin's other films, just like jump in with whatever questions you have. I definitely wanted to ask you about. I know you're a big fan of La Diaz's work, and just sort of like the long form in general. You've gotten curious about it lately, and maybe if you could just talk a little bit about what started that.
Yeah, well, I saw La Diaz's Filipino filmmaker. I saw his films in the Rotterdam Film Festival, and it's like 9, and he, Rotterdam Film Festival like catalog has like colors for different films at times. And it's like huge purple, like time slot for La Diaz. I said, God, that's amazing. But anyway, he makes these like narrative. I think Cabo de la Cruz was here last year, or like recently. Sorry, Cabo. And then so La Diaz is the senior member of the Filipino mafia, and then he makes these like 9-hour narrative films. And then it usually takes if it takes 20 minutes for the oxen cart to come up the road, it takes 20 minutes. And so I like that kind of, and then so things become humane, I think, and I showed some in class. Did you guys see this? You guys saw one? So I started them at 10 o'clock at night, moved to 7 in the morning, I think, because the only time we can have a stretch of time where kids aren't interrupted and stuff. But yeah, so I think, but anyway, but then I like that form, and then I used to work in between freshman and sophomore year in college, and sophomore and junior year I worked at 2 factories. That'd be a perfect to make a long form film. So like every time I got HD or mini DV or any kind of digital format, I always had enough muscle, bought enough muscle to do an 8-hour film. Back in maybe 2007 and 6, whatever. I always get enough batteries, so I can like just do it on my own. So I was always kind of wanting to do that. Excuse me, yeah. So I always wanted to kind of do that and then put the viewer through the kind of time. So I just remember like just going to work, seeing the repetition. I thought that would work better for me instead of telling a narrative like live. I can just show a full day of work or whatever. Yeah, so like that's where it came from. Yeah.
So how did you find? I mean, some people were asking this earlier, like where and how did you arrive at Parklands and bowling?
Well, yeah, I forgot. Like it's like I was supposed to have a show at the Cleveland Contemporary Center. Because they had just built a new building, and the curator had left me hanging. The curator moved on to the Wax Center. Then he moved on from there. Yeah, I know. Now I can't think of his name. Yeah, but he's taking job to job. But
He's on the run.
He's on the run. Yeah. I know. I have relatives that are like that. But anyway, so I was like invested in it. Then I said, well, I'll just show it in the gallery, like the museum's over 8 hours. So I just like try to get permission to get in the factory in Cleveland. So I was trying to muscle up something in Cleveland, and that didn't work. And then I knew this show was supposed to be coming up, but although I didn't know the guy had moved yet. So then I got the Virginia Film Commission to find me a place in Virginia, and then they found this Cubica factory that makes bowling oil, just like bowling island. And then my only request was they had to have a lot of black folk. And they didn't want to hear that, so I had to like kind of, you got a lot of people. I think because people means black folks in the South. White people aren't people, they're just, because they don't have like prefixes and suffixes. It's just white folk. Like people in general. So then I wanted to find folk. I kept saying I wanted to find folk, and then but I wanted at first I wanted a big ticket item. Like I wanted because I used to make dryers. Well, I was part of the...
Like clothes dryers or hair dryers?
Yeah, no, like clothes dryers, yeah. So I was part of the line that made dryers. So I like the fact that starting from like these little parts and then kind of working your way to the object. It was like kind of a narrative, I guess.
That seems like beyond the object. I mean, what are those the machines that like, the things that go up and down, the leaves, they make
Yeah.
They make the stuff like around them.
They make everything but the balls and pins. the balls and pins are made in New Jersey. Yeah, so that's one thing that they don't make there, whatever, yeah. And then I was trying to find the assembly line. I guess I didn't know what I was talking about, but I think only day it happened, so I went there and scouted it out. Because I was gonna make a film, I get commissioned from the Swiss Film Festival to make a film about the future. Or something like that. It's like,
Wait, was this that?
well, part of it, and I was like, I don't know anything about I can't predict the future, I don't know anything about the future. And I know they gave me about like $800,000. I said, all right, I'll spend it, and then so I went there, and then so I did like the fact that, and then for me, I always thought, I have this kind of like dystopic view of the future. Like, I can't sit through Star Wars because that's like, fucking Death Star costs a lot of money, and people are gonna like lose their jobs when that thing explodes. But it's just tragic, on that level. But anyway, I like the fact that I remember seeing this and then I like the fact that everybody thinks of the factories like this is the Rust Belt. So like factories closed in the '80s, but they started closing in the '50s when they had just when the auto plants had what the automation started coming in. So that's when you started losing jobs then, whatever. And then I like these machines that take place of a human, but take twice as long to do. So then I like that, that lane. So I filmed, I had Michelle Lee, my student, I just pushed her in a chair and she shot the lane thing and went back up. And we went a full 2.5 minutes, but she just went a shot with the area and stuff. And then so I like the fact that like a person could sweep that lane twice as fast, as that. But for me, the inefficiency of the future is just to replace people, not time. So I ended up shooting that there. So that gave me a chance to scout out the place, scout the place. And then so I figured, this place won't work because we don't have a assembly line, but I got to make it work anyway because it's the only place that gave me permission to film. So.
How many places did you try?
I was working. I've been trying to shoot this film since probably 2006. So I was always when anybody was like a white collar employee at a Cadillac, I think it was a Corvette factory in Kentucky. And I was trying to get them to let me shoot. A bunch of other places, like in Mansfield, Ohio, in my hometown. It's like, I just see a little like a sweatshop and I just pull over and try to act somebody, that kind of thing. So.
And what was it? Were they usually just new because?
No, it's like liability and corporate secrets. I don't know.
I was really wondering that when you get to see not only the leads, but.
But we weren't supposed to shoot like half the stuff in there. The place was wide open. I remember they gave me a map of what to shoot. But the students didn't see it, so they were like running. People who helped, they were running out. So I saw them crouch down in some place. Oh yeah, okay, fine. You're filming something. All right, fine. So they were just gunning, whatever. So it was just fine, but they got corporate secrets, whatever.
When did you start collaborating? I know you collaborate a lot now these days with some of your students or ex-students or even just like colleagues at where you work now with like Claudrina. Collaborating. But I feel like a lot of the recent films, you like really incorporate.
Usually one or two. I guess it depends on how heavy it's going to be. I was doing it back in Tennessee when I started teaching film there. And like students drive up to Mansfield. We shot in the film you like, the one with me as the
There's only
the
one.
The one you like. No, because remember you had me find that film with the prison guard. Remember that was
that early one.
Yeah, that's the second one. A bunch of kids from Tennessee drove up to Marion, Ohio, because my uncle was a prison guard. My son's mom was working there too. Yeah. So we all worked there. Yeah. So we all shot there. So I've been doing it since then. I think it was like '99, 2000. So I guess it depends on. And then so of course I promised them, we get to Sundance with the school pay for you guys to come. So now they all want to, so it's easy to get them to work on it. But I try to pay them and stuff. Yeah. So it's only been so it's usually maybe once ears, nose, and throat. Had an excellent Elizabeth Webb and Lily Hicks from California. I think you met them. They came back.
That's from 2016, or what?
Yeah, we shot it last summer,
And
yeah.
it's just one Best of the Festival at Ann Arbor, just playing there.
And so did you? That's the.
I didn't win Best of the Festival.
You went, yeah. Best long feature, what was that one?
I don't know what it is.
Yeah. You're so modest. Yeah.
That film is like, that's a gut wrencher.
Yeah.
Did that be a lot, did you have to like take a break? Did you know you were gonna make that film for a while? And
Yeah. I talked to her, this film, Ears, Nose, and Throat, was, I made a film with the person who testified against the person who killed my son. And then so I saw her, I met her at the trial, but her sister testified, and her sister's son, who was actually a relative of mine, so I just met him there, and I just figured, like, I liked her, she's smart, she tells her, she's a great voice, beautiful woman. So I just called her up, and I'm like, hey, you want to do this thing? And she said, sure. So I drove down there in like March, and kind of figure out what I was going to do, and she said we could therapy for it or something like that, and then so we just shot it, I think.
Well, how did you decide to shoot at the Ear, Nose, Throat?
Well, I was telling like Andrew and Karen, those guys, like we were gonna, like I was gonna shoot in the, like I got permission to shoot in the factory where she worked at, so I was gonna make another video, or at least an hour or something, or at least an hour or something. I don't know. I was gonna make because she worked at this place called Pure Later Filters. They make all the filters for cars, and then so I found out, and I figured out what filter my son's car had, so we were on that line. So we got permission for like a week, and then somebody died of a heat stroke in there, and then so we didn't get permission. And then so I think I did. I can't remember when I wrote in the medical exam, because in the film, she's having like her ears, nose, and throat checked out, and then I think I wanted the ear checked out because I like the fact that it's kind of gestured, the kind of swearing in.
Like the film's in,
It's
it's
in
in
medical
sort of
stuff.
3 sections, I guess.
Yeah.
First is you see kind of observational shooting of the street, and you hear these tones that you don't know what they are, but
Yeah.
later you realize they're the tones of her getting her ears
Yeah, there's
tested.
a beep in the ear.
And then you see like a frontal shot of her being examined, like her
Throat, yeah.
throat, her face, and then you see her behind glass. As in the second section, I think, is that when you hear the story?
Yeah,
And
when
then the
she's
third
behind
you hear
glass.
the beeps.
When you hear the story when she's behind glass, and
Okay.
when I'm inside.
So she relays like I'm being an eyewitness to this murder, but there's just so many nice like dislocations, and it gives you space to
Yeah.
to feel the story, like to feel the gravity of it, but
Yeah.
also to feel people's lives beyond that, like as they continue.
Yeah. And then and there's a couple other films I made. I showed one last night where a lot of my
Down at Lexington.
yeah, like the house. Yeah, there's a couple of friends of like always, because I left my hometown. I just left to go to college and stuff, and I go back. My son used to live there and stuff. I used to go back with my mom and stuff, but I didn't connect with my friends because they were all in the crack wars, and it was just too dangerous and too stupid, and it was too dumb, and so I didn't want to be around that. I didn't want to be around that, and my son was young, and you just can't be associated with that kind of shit, right? And then so I just thought people did survive the crack wars, and I remember when I was home during my son's trial, I was going to these basketball games for the first time. I've been in a high school basketball game in 30 years. I don't know. And so I just remember my friend J.C. Walker was like sitting there. It's like, we were just sitting there, and then it was I can't remember the faces and stuff. And I remember I had a lot of girlfriends growing up. And I remember like they were, hey, and I was like, and then I asked my man in LA, like, who was that? And he wouldn't tell me because he was funny with me. I was like, what the hell? And but then my friend Jay, I remember just pointing out people. I was like, who's that again? It's like, oh yeah, like I used to be in the smokehouse. I used to be in the smokehouse. And just people, we just smoke together, smoke. So. And then, these people, like, they had families, their kids were playing basketball, they were, like, beautiful, and so they survived. So I didn't realize people survived the crack wars, because I had left home and thought people, so I know people as crack dealers, and like, in addicts. But the people did get better and survive, so it wasn't just like blank spot in my mind. And so now they're making these films based, these people who survived in crack wars.
So have there been a number of works like?
No, I just made one, so far. But I think it was, just when I go home, I'm gonna like find somebody. Like, hey man, what's going on? So,
Post-war.
Yeah, that kind of trauma. I mean, what it is. I mean, it's like, like, how did you, what did you, and how did you, it was like brutal in the neighborhood. Yeah, I do remember when, like, because heroin was big here in Cleveland, Chicago, and heroin never got to small towns because people didn't like needles. But crack got. I remember, like, what year was this? I was an undergraduate student, so. And I don't know why I'm doing this. Maybe I'm driving, yeah. I remember I was like driving around.
Driving the past.
Going in reverse. I do remember going, and just going to Ohio in Christmas of like '86, just like hanging out with friends or something like that. And then going home for a day in spring break '87. And I remember just driving home and just like going, like I can tell you I was on McPherson and what's it, Bowman Street. No, Spring Mill Street. I'm like, and anybody from Mansfield, what I'm talking about. I just remember like just driving there, it was like super eerie. It was like straight up eerie. And I remember just people, and then like, I remember this guy, he looked like Dennis Perkins, just running across the street, like just like a zombie or something like that. I was like, that was amazing.
It must have been Dennis Perkins.
No, DP back in the day.
Okay.
But anyway, so we used to, and then so I drove to my mom's house, did like doing normally do, drop laundry off or something, kind of undergrad. And then so I went over to Mark Haynes' house, and I just remember knocking on the door, and usually it's open music, and people didn't really know drinking and stuff, and they're like, who is it? I was like, man, it's Kevin, what's going on? And then like chains and shit. All this kind of lock, and then, he answered the door with a gun. I looked at him, what's going on? It was like, something happened, There's like stacks of money, females sucking dick in the corner. It was just like all this crazy, and then like the first thing he said was like gold teeth, like with either smoking or selling. And then it was like 3 months. It was from December to like March, whatever. Just like took over like that. And it was just all these like tragedies that were going on.
Is he one of the people who's still around? Are you gonna?
I don't know where Mark is. His brother Greedy died. He died. Yeah, but I used to hang out with him. He was my age. Mark was a year behind me. But I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know where Mark is. I should make a phone call.
I mean, how often is it that like somebody's story is what starts a film? Because you get tons of films where it's sort of portraiture. People are kind of reminiscing or telling their stories, or maybe it's not even through speaking, but through like the instrument they play or whatever. It's like it kind of starts from the germ of the story, and others where, I mean, how do you, I don't know, is it more organic, like how you decide?
Yeah, it depends. No, it's mostly formal, depends on like what I'm working on. Like maybe playing with a lens in somewhere, or time, I don't know, color, I don't know, depends. I don't know what I was doing. Cause I got this Super 8, I could shoot all that shit. And then so I was trying to use Portuguese Super 8s. Maybe that's, I can't remember what it was. But like I figured that these cats were back home, and I was kind of waiting for a lot of things to happen, and so I just figured I'll just go find these cats that I used to hang out with, and kind of make films with them. My man Willie Crittenden was this film I just did. Cause I remember him, because his birthday is the day before mine. And I remember he got caught in the crack wars, and then I was home, and then, I don't know, this is like classic film, right? You just like, and then I was talking to some friends, like, yeah, man, I saw Crittenden the other day, what's going on? Man, his house burned down. Really? I was all excited, because I wanted to get him in front of his burnt down house. I was like, where is it? I found it, so then, I went to the barbershop, and I found it, you go by the barbershop first, and find anything. And then I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? But I was like, hey, so where's your house at? It's like burnt. So I thought that was a great part of the narrative. So now I got my ending, right? So like more tragedy on top of tragedy. But I didn't even use that like in the film. I shot it, but I didn't use it. But anyways, I was thinking about portraits of people and stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean, the other one that you showed at, that you just showed at Ann Arbor.
Oh,
That
yeah.
one.
Audition for Nathaniel?
Yeah, Audition for Nathaniel, when you're just interviewing, what's that?
Well, the actor, well, he was an actor, he was Nathaniel Taylor, he played Rollo in Sanford and Son, the old American sitcom.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was from, I made a film years ago called Rita Lawson's Boy. I don't know if you've seen that, with these, well, anyway, well, Nathaniel Taylor, he played sidekick in this American sitcom, Sanford and Son. And I remember going out to Mississippi, that's where my folks are from, Columbus. And then everybody had 8x10 glossy, like in their house, yeah, because he had relatives. I thought he was from there, but he had relatives down there. So my grandmother and aunt and they had 8x10 glossies in the house. And then so I was like, oh, so he had this kind of connection to Mississippi. So, there's all these kind of weird, things that I'm kind of invested in, like either landscape or people and stuff. So I've been trying to find it for years. And then about 5 years ago, I made a film with people in Cleveland, people auditioning for the role of Rollo in San Francisco. And then, so I found him like about a year or so, or yeah, a little less than a year ago. And then so I said, well, can I film you? I was have to do something at Georgia State. And then so I went out there and filmed him for like a day or something like that.
The thing that was so fantastic about that film is here's this guy you've been like trying to find for years potentially.
He's barely in the film.
Well, he's barely in it. Then someone behind him starts doing this crazy dance on the street, and you just film that guy. That's what I love about it. There's always this sort of conversational way that you let the moment be the moment, even if it's someone who's minimally impactful.
Well, I mean, he's subject matter, you can tell, but there's other stuff around him. This guy's been doing his paintings, people just hanging out, that kind of thing. I was hoping to find that kind of, but that comes from training. I had to go to film school, I went to like art school, so I was a street photographer. It comes from the street photography things, where you just find things and you create things by framing and moment in time and stuff like that. So just hopefully there's people there, so you do things, find people do some stuff. Guy dancing was just catching a bus.
No, that was crazy. He was like on the ground.
He was kicking and locking and popping. And he was waiting for the bus to come. So I just like loaded up the Super 8. She loves Super 8.
Well, I mean, I don't want to commandeer the whole conversation because I know a few people have been in here and might have or even people who just know Kevin's work from over the years are just curious about, hearing more of the stories or not all the specific stuff. Yeah.
Stories. That's all I do is those stories. All of my lives. Quiet bunch here in Chicago. They didn't say much last night. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about how you think about process and sequence, not your process, but in this particular.
Oh, park lines?
One thing that struck me is the difference between, for example, the person who sprays the metal sheet.
Yeah.
And the way that you sort of treat that really as a process. It's kind of mesmerizing. We learn his technique as he goes up and does the nails and then back and forth. But then it was striking that in the structure of the film, we get the loading of the sheets on the hooks later. And there were other examples like that, like the wheel that we learn later how it gets to its spot before it gets washed. And so I wondered, whereas many of the sequences themselves are so sort of attentive and careful to the process of the thing being done, like the metal bender. I mean, there's several examples where you sort of follow it from beginning to end, and it produces this kind of, mesmerism. And yet, in structuring the film, you don't follow this. You use a different principle. So I sort of
well, you do follow. Actually, usually the objects that are being, those metal things are being painted. They're usually in the things that are being made, but you can't tell because they're so weirdly abstract, or they're black, or they're silver. So the painters, just when they were painting something, those objects were in these things that were being made. So it took me a couple of days because I don't know these objects. So I had to figure out the material, and also too, I'm an art dude because it's my license plates. You know, I'm not, so I'm looking, so even when I first started making films, I always tried to find things that look like art being made, you know, so the painting, the art, and the sculptural. So I was looking for these objects that look more kind of sculpture or abstract, like sculpture and stuff. And then, so once I knew these objects that they were making, it took a couple of days, but they were 3 days, because I didn't know what these things were. And then so I said, oh, that's that metal rod that they were painting. You know, that weird thing. Oh, like it's in this arm. So then so I'll film that arm, you know, this arm doing the pin thing, whatever. So the products or the objects, they do kind of come up, but they're hard to find, you know. And then sometimes they're barely there, or whatever, you can barely see it. But then, like once I was looking at the footage, I was trying to find some kind of little bit of kind of structure, but those objects would kind of come up again, whatever. Yeah. And then cause that's why there's a lot of painting going on. Yeah, because then so they would, and then a lot of those products kind of going up because they were part of this larger thing. So they're usually in these big contraptions. Those objects would be in it. So then I started like seeing these, you know, just being there long enough. Like I saw these rods and these metal things. So that kind of drove it a little bit. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. But the thing that, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, the thing that struck me is every time I sort of saw an object that I had seen at an earlier stage in its assembly, and I realized how it fit into the cleaner, I realized how it fit into the arm, you know, those were moments where I was like, oh. But the thing that I was actually asking about is how it is, or I was just wondering, there were a few cases, I mean, there were, I'm sure, many, but cases that I noticed where the sequence of the production, like the first thing you would do is hook the thing, and then you would paint it. But in the order of your film, we get the painting. You know, we get the painting from the back, we get it from the front, we get the painting before we see the.
Yeah, and I broke it up. Yeah, I just wanted to just kind of like. Yeah, because sometimes you see it welded after it was painted too as well. Yeah, and I tried to, let's follow these objects, but then I just went back and forth. Yeah.
And yet in the filming of particular sequences, in the filming of like the assembly of a particular object, you stick with it and you sort of begin to understand, oh yeah, it's okay. So you put in the screws and here's the beginning and here's the middle. Oh, and then she's finished with her pile, you know, the metal bender. She's finished with her pile, and by the end you sort of understand what the process is and when she measures and when she doesn't measure. And so I just sort of thought that was a kind of contrast, the sort of importance of sequence in particular segments, and then the segments out of sequential order in terms of the
objects.
In terms of the structure of the film. That was just the question, but you answered it mostly.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think one of the first cuts was where we're following the painters and there was like one object to be painted, and then so I just started kind of moving things around because it's a little bit too obvious, whatever. It just depends on what people were doing, like some, you know, again, like just, I don't know, I'm doing the dock thing, right? But some people are just, like I have a Andy Warhol casting system too, and so some people are just stars, and some people say, oh, this person is doing this thing really, really well, and really, really talented, and so I just went, because a lot of people that were working there, and then God, they were good and did what they did, but they weren't as good as some of the other people, right? 'Cause I was going for the sheer brilliance and the intellectualizing of these objects more so than anything else. And I just remember, I used to always make films about like that. I mean, I think a lot of my strategy is people on screen are smarter than the audience. So you know, they know what they're doing, the people in the audience don't. So I always like to kind of keep the intelligence up on the screen. But also too, it all comes from like just. I remember, you know, my dad had like, I think I was there before, but my dad had like this 8th, 9th grade. I don't know how much education he had because he used to drive the school buses when they were 14, 15 in Mississippi. Because they were going to school, you might as well drive them, you know, so they're in segregation, right? You know, so people would drive the school buses. So then, I don't think he finished school, But yeah, he became the foremost, most Volvo mechanic in the Midwest. In fact, they used to fly him here to fix Volvos in the suburbs here. So he talk about people's houses and stuff here. And then so I liked him through practice and preparation. And, you know, it's like sports. You become really, really good at something, so to speak, and then you be noble about that profession, so to speak. You know, and then so I liked showing. I remember I did this film when I was in Rome. I remember we had to get this permesso di soggiorno, this document to stay more than 6 months or something like that. It was fucking chaos because it was basically like they put all the EU and the Americans and Canadians in one line, and then everybody else in another line. And those people usually got beat. You know, those guys. There's a lot of fascist elements still in Rome or whatever. So people get beat to stick. So like they tried to take some of the Americans who didn't look white.
Because you like went over your visa or something?
Yeah, well, no, it's to stay there for a long period of time. Given
How
that
did you
just
get
had
just to stay there?
Oh, well, usually the Eastern Europeans and Africans, they only gave out 6 of these a week. So it'd be like thousands when you're trying to get them. And then so if the line was not straight, they would hit them. You know, they would do like, you know, these like rods and stuff. So I remember they tried to drag me over into that line and so trying to get my U.S. passport out. They still didn't believe it. And then so some of the American Catholic people, they got me out because they could speak Italian and they got me in the line. But I do remember, you know, it's always like about somebody who's good at their job. So that was a Friday, so we had to get this document. So Monday we had to go back and get the physical document. But so I remember there's this kind of window for Nestor, so 2 people were behind there. And so they were pronouncing the names of people all over the globe to come get their documents. And one guy was horrible at it. And if he said your name, that meant your ass. Because that means because you didn't know it. And so that means you got to come back the following week. So we were all sweating. It's like, oh, this motherfucker don't say my name. You know, like, excuse my language. But then the other guy was so good at it. So I made this film based on how somebody could be really talented at something. You know, so you need that, right? So we were hoping this other cat was like, you know, because you've been like this guy, like somebody, and people were like, I think that was me. So some of the Americans had to come back the next week. Yeah, because they couldn't, you know, because they wouldn't pay, because they only looked at what was going on. So I like how somebody can be really good at their job and somebody not. You know, that kind of, you know, so in a lot of my films I have this kind of, you know, like I'm trying to look for, like I'm impressed by talent and intellectualism, you know, and so some of the people who kept showing up again were very, very kind of talented.
What you were just talking about made me think of the first film of yours I ever saw, which I can't remember the name of it, but you'll probably remember. It was a short about a guy's first day out of work.
Oh yeah, it was a week in a hole.
Yeah.
I got credit out for that.
Yeah, but it seemed like to kind of tie in with what you were talking about. And maybe I was thinking about these early films and the relationship with being, because I think if I remember right, when you talked about that at Clarity years ago, that there was more things that were constructed in some of those early films where you set up the scenario.
Yeah, that was
But they appear to be pure documentary.
Yeah, I always have this kind of naturalism where I have an actor, you know. In fact, and then even Mark Lane's, like the short woman, the light skinned woman, I was trying to, like she was my narrator for like a day. It was like, oh, you gotta do this, that, and you know. Then I gave her lines to say, and then this other guy had lines to say. Then I just scrapped it. But that film, that was a student of mine, a student of mine. And then so we went to this place that, again, I'm trying to find the artistry. So they painted wood floor parts or something like that. And it's like a paint shop. And then I painted plastic jam car parts. So, you know, so like I'm good to go. And then so I just kind of structured it like film is based on your first day at any job. You know, because there's always this uncertainty where you get used to the sounds, sights, and then the people. So at the beginning of the film, he's not very good at it, and then it becomes better. And then I remember he was carrying these because I went there like a day or two or a week before, and then they were showing me how to do everything and carry things. And even when he was carrying these wood things, and he started carrying them right, and I remember I was filming him, and then I just kicked him. So he could like kind of struggle with it. So, I got too good at first. No. And then we did it again, and I made it like, and then so I just cut, you know, and then so I think the first break he ate by himself, his lunch he ate by himself, but the last break he was eating with all these workers and laughing and joking with them. So he became comfortable. Yeah. So like that's a story of like a lot of the films. Yeah. That kind of structure.
You have a lot of things in some of those earlier shorts that you constructed too, like sculptural things.
Yeah, I made things. Yeah, I didn't make.
The recent films do that.
Yeah.
I mean, like FE26.
Yeah, I made the manual cover and the tools and the hammer. Because that film's based on people stealing manual covers and scrap like copper people's homes.
Soundy.
Yeah. And yes, I remember I filmed a guy years ago, it was Super 8, and then he was stealing copper across the street. We was on St. Clair, 74. Not that means anything, but the Clair, you know. This is where Bones and Doug's is from the 80s, you know, so it's like from the Yale and 80th Street. And then so I remember this guy, I was filming at Super 8, and he came after me with a hammer, you know. And he was like trying to attack me. I said, broad day. I was like, look, use a crook, you know, or use a thief, you know. And he realized that he was in the wrong. Yeah, a lot of reasons from stealing and trying to attack me or whatever. And then so I reenacted that in that film, but I didn't use it. Yeah, I didn't use it. Yeah, but I made props. I did the sculpture of this making. And I was saying that Landon was in that film. I made a bell for a church. Yeah.
Quite often you talk about a shot that I didn't use it, a shot that I didn't use it. Do you have like an archive of shots? Do you go back ever and use something?
No.
Never. So it's done.
Done.
That's nice.
Well, sometimes like the trailers for films are footage that's not in the film, which is confusing to people. I remember Erie, where's the hypnotizing scene? It's like, oh, I just cut it out. Yeah, but no, I don't know. No, I just don't, no, I just, you know, I have like these, like multiple plans and stuff. Especially for Park Lanes, because I didn't know what the objects were that they were making. You know? I mean, I couldn't like find, you know, because it's so weird and things, you couldn't get a good frame on them. You know, so I just trying to think, and then maybe I can follow this guy around and this woman around. You know, I didn't know I was gonna find a lead.
What about?
The last day.
Well, you just mentioned Erie, which is so far my favourite.
Oh, right.
I love that film. But there's that scene with your daughter.
Oh, staring at the candle. Yeah.
Where I actually think you are reinventing cinema in that
Oh,
scene.
no. I heard it. Look at it.
That's right. It's gonna be in the next DVD. Oh,
Man, I need people to see, because people in like Mansfield don't think I do anything. They know my school. In fact, they realize I teach at University of Virginia, so they were rooting for it. I've been there for 16 years. It's like, what was your favorite college team? It's like, Virginia. Oh yeah, that's right. So they were rooting for him, and unbelievable. Yeah, so I should bring everybody to Mansfield. Yeah.
But I was just going to ask about, like your making work in situ in different places that you scope out or come across. But often you work with your family as well.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. My daughter's been in, she's probably the last thing she's been in.
And son.
Yeah, so he did a bunch of stuff. Company line. A couple of uncles. My uncle Fled's.
They just happen to be there, or you?
They're interested. My Uncle Lanky's interested. He's too over the top. He's
Uncle
Blanky!
you know. You know.
I don't know.
I talk like people know what y'all over the top. I'm on the way. He's over the top. You know. He's just. My Uncle Ples, he's like kind of low key. But my Uncle Winky, my dad, they're kind of over the top. My Uncle Shep. But yeah, I don't know. Winky's, you know, he's like he used to be a hustler back in the day, and he's retired prison guard. And he used to work at the Wild Brass. Yeah, you know, but he was like, you know, he's loud, you know, first one in the room, you can't miss him, you know. People think I look like him. So my relatives used to say, you just look like Uncle Mikey, you know. Like cursing me, whatever. Because he's always in the streets, I guess. I like the streets, so he'd be in the streets. But yeah, but I can't frame him. He's not like, he's interesting as a story, but my Uncle Ples is kind of low key and stuff. He's been Spice Bush earlier. He's the star of that, yeah. And then he's the guy in the billboard in the area. Yeah, my Uncle Ples. But I haven't had, my cousin Evan has been in Spice Bush. He was a school principal. He's the actual principal. And my aunt's been in there, and now that St. Matthew's, a bunch of my aunts in there. Yeah, there's some. I got a couple of cousins who are in nursing that are going to be in films at some point. Because I get access to it, I guess. It's easy for me to get access. And those prison films are based on my uncle and my son's mom. My son's mom is a prison guard. So usually, I'm invested in what they do. And I do look for brass objects because I'm thinking like how they were made. They used to make things on telephone poles. These like conductor things, like out brass. So I'm always looking at them and see if every time there's a down telephone pole, I'm seeing if something's brass is on it or something like that. So I'm always thinking about what they did. And my Uncle Ples used to work at that. That's what I wanted to do here. I know. Good indictment. I was talking to Jack and Stewart because you were there at dinner. I wanted to film something here. I was here. And then my uncle used to work at National Seating. They used to make bus seats. And then Jackie Stewart said she had a nephew or somebody that I just got the joint. And he's working at National Seating. That's a place that make bus seats. So I think you're just nodding. They're just going with me. Thanks. Yeah, so I wanted so that's a film on how long it takes to make bus seats and stuff like that. So if I ever find a place, I'm always looking. Like I was in Philadelphia, and I look who's like if a car being crushed or like if there's a brass company scene. Yeah, so I always look for those places like when I go to the new city. So it's all based on stuff I'm invested in, like those kind of things. Yeah. Did that answer the question? Did that answer the question? Yeah. Just wondering, just talking this. Cousins. My cousin Derek did it. I mean, it's easy to do relatives. Like, put them in it, I guess. Or just what they do, because they're the expert at what they do. I don't know.
But like with your daughter in Erie,
No, yeah.
like it's a young,
Yeah.
it's a young child.
It's
How
like
old is she?
11.
And she sits for 10 minutes looking at a candle. Not many 11-year-old children can do that.
Well, she's martial arts, so do that. Yeah. Well, it's funny because I remember I made this film, because there's always these like single take movies like Sharon, James, and I think it was 2009. Sharon, oh yeah, I'm sorry. Because I think we're at home, we're like, oh yeah, when he drives Monte Carlo, well, like that's that guy in your film. What's that guy? What's that?
Which?
The guy in the drag racing, the street racing film. That guy talking.
Oh, my neighbor too?
Yeah, yes, I thought that. Yeah. But anyway, so then I remember I made this film, Old Cat, where I'm in a boat in 10 minutes or something. It's one of my best films. I don't think it played much, but Old Cat. It's the first time I did like a single take or something. And then I was like, well, shit, I can do like 8 of these, put them together and make a feature. And then, so the first thing I called my daughter's mom, I was like, hey, can she stare at a candle for like 11 minutes? Yeah, okay, cool. And so that was the first scene. And that wanted to be about automobiles. And it wanted to be about the South and this billboard, so I wanted to be this kind of narrative of kind of coming, like this kind of Underground Railroad narrative, coming from the South and going into Canada. So the structure was kind of in my head, but then I had to find the scenes for it. But then I wanted her to look at the candle because I figured, this is the first time I was doing these long take films, and I figured, the viewer has to concentrate for 11 minutes, so I wanted the subject matter in the film to concentrate for 11 minutes. And then so that was the first thing I thought about. For some reason, I thought the camera would go down more,
She should have been concentrating harder.
Yeah. Yeah, because even in like Illinois, what like parables. Yeah, I know that narrative. Yeah, like what we had that fire starter. So I know. So I was all excited about that scene. But yeah, so I went ahead to look at that. But I remember this when I was in Detroit. I was telling somebody this last night. I was showing it in Detroit, and you know, I forgot what area of Detroit, but you know, two in the front row, they was like, he was mad at me. How can you put that child do that? You lost your mind. You know? I'm like, whoa. I said, but that's my daughter. Oh, okay. And I was like, wait a minute, hold on, but that's even more abusive. That's going to happen again. You know? And you'll do it again? And I was like, I don't know. You know? So I think you call like children's services on me. But I was in the state of Michigan, not the state of Ohio. So in the state of Ohio. Like that, I got in trouble. Whatever. But yeah, I like those kind of things, kind of using families. But now she's doing all this dance stuff, so I got to, and she wants to do this dance film, so I got to do this dance film.
We did some dance, wasn't there dancing in that show?
Yeah, Erie, yeah, like front dancers. And then I want to, yeah, so I'm trying to, she has these like, I don't know, she's got these Korean moves. So we got to like figure this out though. So we're gonna shoot something this summer. So it's impressive friends. Yeah, but they're supposed to do their own website or something. I don't know. They just, so I can get consulted on all the time. Like a bunch of 15-year-old girls, and they're all talking at once on the phone. Well, that thing's exciting. Like, oh no, it's like that was this. Yeah. So anyway, consulted on that. But yeah. Any other comments? Oh yeah. I think this young man has been here all day.
Yeah, man, he's been
Got
so
earned it.
nice.
You should be up front.
Well, my question's sort of about that actually. You compared the experience of the audience to, you were saying the problem is that the people in the film are intelligent in the audience.
Well, that's not the problem.
That's the good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. That's the audience's problem.
Right. But I guess I was just sort of curious about how, for Park Lane, it seems very much like the idea is that the viewer's experience is akin to a working day. And there's actually a moment, I don't know if this works all the time, but if you started at 9, at one point you look at a clock and the clock matches up almost exactly. It was about 2 minutes off.
Yeah, that was by accident.
Well, it's
At
beautiful.
first it was. At first it was by accident. Yeah, at first it was, yeah. Because the day starts at like 6 to 4.
Because they get out, it's still late, although it's
Yeah, well, this is March, yeah, March, so yeah. But no, yeah, I should be talking, yeah, I think, yeah, it's not a parallel of the viewer, because the viewer's not working. I mean, they're doing another type of work, but they're not doing that kind of work.
Right.
But yeah, but it's just the film structure. I mean, I'm impressed that people stay 8 hours or 6, 7 hours. Because I didn't think people would or something. Because the whole thing was designed for a gallery, but it never played in a gallery. It was always, so I like the kind of theatrical setting, seats and stuff. But yeah, but no, I do, but you people can kind of walk in and walk out, whatever, but yeah, but I just, yeah, I think the only thing is just that the whole idea of like a work day, a time. And then people, it's funny, my daughter went to this family again, my daughter went to this Montessori school, and it's like, it's expensive, but, you know, but they didn't teach time. Yeah, I think it's growing up, like, I just remember, like, time was just always something that you just knew in Mansfield, Ohio. I think it's film what is it called? Company Line, where, I mean, people know, I mean, I can tell you what happened in 1979, and that was 5:05 p.m. You know, people would, like, we have a weird relationship to time, and my daughter was going to Montessori school, she had no concept of, like, 5 minutes. I was like, what is it, 5 minutes? You know, it's like stolen, it was like a weird kind of education, I guess, whatever. But it was like this factory time. So you just knew, time was always in your mind and stuff like that, And then also everybody had big clocks in their house. I don't know if people have that now. Like they all had a big clock. There's a picture of me going to my prom date with a big clock behind my head. It had like a halo. Because like the clock was like an object. It was like the size of the wall. And you had to like, it was like a heat. So we ever had these clocks, and so you'd always like look at So I always remember just watching this sitting in, the big old color console TV, like piece of furniture. And so I remember just watching like Hawaii Five-0 or shows like that. And then so always like the narrative would wrap up at like at the 57th of the hour. 53rd of the hour. It was like, okay, so this thing's gonna wrap up. You just always like, because there's always a clock in the classroom. Now there's not clocks in people's, like I remember going to the Montessori school, man, I said, don't teach my daughter time if I want to learn it. It's like walking in there all mad, like a parent, and shit like that. Everybody's like, where's time at? And then I'm being escorted out of there. And I was like upset, because her grades are great, but like, you don't know anything about time. Well, your daughter's really, no, don't. There's like this huge argument about it. Because there was no clocks in the room and shit, And then people got like cell phones, it's like the thing is on and on. So anyway, this is seeing the needle, or, and then the second hand, that was like, always like big, and so we had this concept of time back in these factory towns. So then the whole idea of like dirty time of 11 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, just guessing, time. And it was funny because I was like shooting, like I've been shooting the moon. Been using the University of Virginia Observatory telescope, and so I rigged up my Area. So we use the telescope like a lens, and so and I'm like shooting like a magazine, so I know how much time we got. So I'm trying to ease the telescope into the moon. I just couldn't figure out where it was. I ended up shooting way more from that. Then I was wanting to, but the students were there, and they were like impressed that I could like. Is it 9 minutes yet? Like, yeah, it's 9:03. You just can feel it. There's something that thing. So then, like sometimes, like I think Park Lanes is like, I can just feel what time it is. And then so like that's my kind of thing. But I don't know. I know people want to talk about just the way they're experiencing it. But I just like experiencing real time. It's coming from this like Mansfield. It's really like my friends in Cleveland, they're always late and shit. Like your mother wakey boy, like you show up there, the big guy, like he does big. But anyway, so he has that, But I remember, my friends like they couldn't understand me. They was like, "Oh, where this come from?" So I remember we were shooting them at the prison. One time we was supposed to get down there at like 6 in the morning or something like that from Cleveland to Mansfield. Like it was like 88 miles. And I mean, we got there at like 8:55. No, 5:55. And then he was scolding me because he thought he was gonna wait on me. And my friends were like, that's where you get it. Yeah. You gotta get early. You can't. I don't know if they got it here in Chicago.
But do you have that same sense when you're watching films, or only when you're making them and living? I mean, or does your sense of time?
Oh yeah, when I'm making, just when I'm watching.
When you're viewing, does it go away up to the bathroom?
No. It's like time is always on you. Time is always on my mind.
So it wouldn't matter what film you were watching. You'd be like,
I don't care if I'm driving back and forth to the, and this GPS thing is fucking with me because then it tells you what time you're gonna get there. You get GPS, and then it's like 12 minutes. Like, man, because I want to be told because I know it. I don't know. It's like weird, Yeah, it's a different thing. My brother has the same thing because he was talking about that the other day too as well. It's like, because he was because I think he was kind of ragging his niece because she couldn't my niece or his daughter about like, God damn, I ain't growing up in Nashville. Like just trying to get them to realize how long 5 minutes is. It's just like it's the simplest thing, but it's like, but if you don't grow up with like being late. You folks going to work, and people get docked for time. We live in a professional class where I show the class hi. You get there, but here, there it's like it looks like really like like it's critical or something like that. So I guess it's just kind of learned thing, whatever. And then so Park Lanes and these other. I shot this other film called Empire, 8709 Empire, where I shot a trap house for 8 hours in Cleveland. Nothing happens. Because I want to do like Andy Warhol's like Empire. Yeah. So like the drug dealer and them guy never came back. And so me and Khalil was out there for about 12 hours. Yeah. So I just put it together for the sunrises and stuff. But But yeah.
Were you feeling it? I mean, did you have this at the time where you were like, it's probably about 3 hours?
Not nearly as strong, but I have worked with factories before, and the thing that reminded me so much of that experience is just like how you can tell that these people are very aware of how much time is left in their day.
Yeah, they're living it. Yeah, because I think when lunch is coming, and yeah, you're never surprised, like, oh man, shit, it's like 5.
Right.
Yeah, you never, like, you just know it.
Well, it's cool, you're on the clock.
Yeah, you're on the clock, you're on the clock. And I always say I'm on the clock, so I'm doing things, but, and I
Well, it sounds like
you
you always are, isn't it? I mean, you're sleeping.
Oh, you're thinking, yeah, it's weird, it's like a kind of a,
I mean, if you don't leave your time when you're watching other films, I don't know when you would leave your time. That seems radical. I mean, the fact that you could watch another film and still be hyper conscious of, you know, Kevin Jerome Everson time.
Yeah,
Or like
yeah,
clock time.
yeah.
I mean, to me, that's the one time I totally lose clock time and I lose my
Oh,
personal
really?
time. When I'm watching someone else's film, I'm in that time.
No, I'm always thinking like, I'm always thinking like how it is made. I think they're gonna put this formal device in at the 17th minute. This switched. Oh yeah, it's probably like 23 minutes in it. Like you write scripts and that conflict happened.
When turns.
It's like page and a half. So I'm always like timing that out. Yeah. I don't know. It's like I'm always wearing a watch. I don't know. It's like crazy. I gotta drive with the man's
I keep it coming.
People are like, what's going on? People be trying to get the hell out of there, boy. Just gassing up the car. Any other? Oh, yes. Oh,
I guess I'm kind of thinking of that the question about working with family, but thinking about not exactly familiar people, but familiar places. And I guess I'm just curious if you feel like your approach changes when you're working in Ohio versus a place you don't know very well.
That's a good question. No, not really. Even when I shot in Brazzaville, the Congo, I treated it like St. Louis. Just like, because they got a river, they got black folk, St. Louis, Congo River, Mississippi River. Except they didn't have an arch. But that's the only difference. I just think it's weird. Like I don't have this kind of I don't really have this like. And even when I see family, people don't think they're related to me. I don't think so. I try to, this is my aunt or something. They may look like me in the end, but no. I think I'm more urgent. I think if I don't know the landscape or something, I think I'm a little bit. No, wait, yeah. Yeah, I think I'm aware of things aren't like I'm not familiar with it or something. So I'll probably go scout it out or something, or I try to get familiar with it quickly. Cleveland, Cleveland, Mansfield, I know. In Columbus, Mississippi. It's the main places, yeah. At least I know, like back of my hands, I know where when the sun sets, what time, and what vantage point, north, south, So it's easier, but when I'm in like other places like St. Louis or Fayetteville, North Carolina, but we were inside though. Oh, we did shoot some stuff outside because I shot 3 films, but Nina Brooks. There's 2 other films, but we're mostly interior most of the time. But no, it's usually the same. Like depends on how I'm framing it up. Because sometimes in a lot of the films, like place is not the city's not important. I don't think. Yeah, I try to frame it out or concentrate on the people. I think, not on the landscape. That may not be true. I don't know. That's a good question.
What was that film? I can't remember the name. The one that you shot in Mississippi. That felt like the place.
Which one?
Same man.
Yeah, because of the river and the dam and
Right.
stuff like that. Yeah, so I had to but even that's kind of fictitious because it's an island, but people don't call it an island. It just, so it's kind of people back from Mississippi is like, so where's that island at? It's like, church there. It's like, there's a, you're right, it's like, oh yeah. You know, so, you know, I try to, like that was about a place, I think, because of the logging dam, and so yeah, there's probably another one in there too, I think. Yeah, the neighborhood, yeah. There's another one in there too. Yeah, I'm sure there's another one in there too, yeah. But it's not like, 'cause I remember one time Cleo asked me that question one time, it's like, no, it's not, it's more the people, I think, sometimes, yeah. And even fight, but you can't really see it in the weird ways, it's more the people, but what they talk about it, but you don't position yourself in the scene, and I think, yeah.
Now's your chance, Kevin's here.
Cause I'm gonna hit the streets tonight. Yeah, that's Chicago, that's South Side. Where were we at? What was this place called?
Chicago, what are you in the neighborhood?
Yeah.
You're west side?
Near
You're west
West
side?
Side.
You're west side. West side's started.
So what's the loop's a train thing?
Well, it's a train thing, but it's also kind of like the city,
Yeah.
you know, if you're east of the freeway, east of Kennedy, I don't know. I mean, I kind of think of that.
Oh, okay, yeah. I like that South Side. It's like Mississippi.
Wait, you like the south side?
No, the South Side.
The south side.
I like the South
I like
Side.
stop signs too, yeah. They're like universal, practical, nice
Word.
octagon.
But I like that South Side, because people move like it from Mississippi. Yeah, it's just, it's fascinating.
Yeah, well, south side and west side, I mean, I feel like they're like
Really?
storytelling, rivals. I mean, Tim, the
Yeah,
boy
West
racing
Side.
neighbor, he was west side, but he realized they had sort of story rivalries and, you know,
Little
gang
boy.
rivalries,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
racing rivalries. And,
Yeah, I like tribalism in communities. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Because people embody, I think it's a physicality as well as a mental approach. 'Cause I remember people talk about like north side of Mansfield, it's like, oh man, y'all crazy. It's like, oh yeah, it's true. People like kind of embody like a kind of a south side mentality, kind of east side Cleveland, like 8 miles, 6 miles, like DC, Detroit, and I guess DC northwest, is that it? Northeast, northwest.
you should demo the.
You're from there. No, you're from Maryland, right?
What are you asking?
Like DC, what they call it, like northeast, northwest? Yeah, people like embody that, I think, sometimes, yeah.
Can you demo like Cleveland embodiment with your laser pointer?
No, yeah, probably.
I can't wait for you to use it.
No, I can't talk about it. But, no, I remember somebody was telling me about, well, Clevelanders are different. Yeah, it's different, because they're mostly from Alabama.
You can do it, man. You love shapes and objects. You can totally, I want to see an embodiment with your pen.
My aim, yeah. But anyway, but I do want to shoot in Chicago, though, it'd be nice. I never shot there, though.
Might be best seats.
Yeah, it'll be like an interior. It'll be an
Are
interior.
you gonna stick with long form for a while, or is that
It
like you're
depends on the subject, depends on the film, depends on the people, and just depends. Yeah, it'd be nice to make some more. And it's all about getting permission, those kind of things. And even shooting that house for 8 hours, that was rough, because then we used to have these cats in Cleveland, it was like on Empire Street, it was like, Clevelanders are mountain folk, because they're super suspicious, they kind of mentality, but it's not like Mississippi, where people are like, come on in, they're friendly, more friendly, it's like mountain, they're more suspicious in Cleveland. And I just remember, like, oh, we want to make it off of your house, and this pitch, okay. And then if we wait a day, it's like, no, I don't think y'all can come, And then so, clearly had this great idea, said, like, if the guy says yes, we'll film right now. Don't give him time to change his mind, which is a good idea. So I had the wrong tripod mount, so I had to send somebody home. So the first half an hour was like, oh man, hell. So we just had a gun, right? And then I think we would have gave that guy, and the guy's got his lawn, he came out like, how long y'all gonna be here again? 8 hours. So he was starting to like change his mind. But then once we were there in the morning sitting on lawn chairs filming, because we shot with a GH4. And then everybody kept walking by. I was like, man, you wait back. Yeah, I let you flow. I asked you last night if I could shoot it, or last week. And I was like, oh yeah. That's right. So people were like, and then so they started to loosen up once we were out there. Because they was like, well, my house is better than, like, oh, unbelievable. I told you, and then people started to loosen up. But, that kind of suspicion is like kind of rampant in Cleveland. Yeah. People are like, and then I guess it's like I said, like, I like the kind of physical, kind of mental embodiment of how people like kind of think and see and experience the world. You know, I think it's like form or subject matter. You know, or you can be. You know. Yeah, like Tim, you know. Yeah.
I don't mean the spoken language, just like how people.
Yeah, how people deal with stuff. And so I think that's like interesting as form, you know. And Tim, he's just like gone. You know?
Oh my God.
You know, the guy's a showman or whatever. And then maybe if he was from another part of the country, he may not have that kind of profile. Yeah, well, with Bragg was just like, he's like a griot, that was kind of the truth.
But you can tell the people heard the story too, which I love.
Yeah.
Parts that they already
They heard it and then experienced, and they probably were there, whatever, but they wanted to hear it out, say it, because he's an agreeable, and then they come to hear him, they come here, so I like that.
I never been that cop with the copy. That
I love that stuff, All right. Oh, yeah.
Speaking it.
Just a quick one, but I was wondering, I know you used to do like every year a new formal device.
Yeah.
Do you still do that?
Yeah, mostly. Or play with a different camera or different approach. Yeah.
Does that end up choosing the subject matter?
Yeah, usually,
That will
usually.
kind of drive. something?
Yeah, just kind of play with it formal. 2 years ago I was doing the 8-hour film, and then need a new double exposure. I did a lot of double exposure that year. What I'm doing now? I'm doing all this telephoto lens stuff. Oh man, that was a bad mistake. I wanted to shoot everything with the telephoto lens, flatten it out.
Don't just be real far away from it.
Yeah, I just got all this footage back yesterday. I just kind of see how I can kind of muscle it up, whatever. We'll see. I mean, I'll know by a week from tomorrow. Because I'm trying to get it done by then. So I don't know. So that was the kind of strategy. Was that like this year? I was like, let me just do this. Just kind of flatten it out and just get these portraits of people like not seeing me and whatever. So to speak. No, we'll see. I should have done it. I should have needed. I didn't do it. I didn't do it in all these 3 scenes or something. So now I gotta make it stick. But if I was smart, I'd go back to New Orleans. I just can't do it. But so every year I have a new formal quality exercise.
Do those ever get dictated by someone who's not you? Someone's like,
What I mean?
just some outside voice or person ever say like, hey, well, how about this year you and me work with me now?
No, not really. No, I just figure out.
Yourself and hers.
Yeah, something goes. Yeah. I got these lenses now. But I should have just kept in my 10mm lens and just keep it like street photography to shoot. Now I'm like taking out lenses.
Using telescopes.
Yeah, using telescopes. Yeah. God damn telescope. Yeah, that's right. And that moon's big, Jack. Yeah. And then so you can't really figure out what. Oh my God, we wasted so much footage. I didn't know where I was at in the moon.
You can still rock that space of nothing though, Kevin. If anybody can rock
That's the goal, is to have like completely like a 7-day film with just black. Just a straight, just get to Ellsworth Kelly, like hardcore, super formalist, just call it a day. And then by the time I'll be like 78, and most men in my family die at 74, so I can like push it for another 4 years. Yeah. But me and Kyle, we're supposed to make a film next year in the Philippines. So it's either I think I told with Lorenzo. Yeah, I think I told him yesterday. Is it going to be? Is it going to be 7 minutes or 7 days?
That's so biblical.
Yeah.
That's so biblical.
Oh yeah. So, yeah. Something. It's going to be like that long, whatever. So there's no limitation. Depends on what the subject is. But it could be like how long it takes him to get up this mountain and stuff. So we'll see. Camping. So we'll see. Yeah.
Right, should we wrap it up?
Yeah.
Well,
There's no clock in here.
Yeah, there's no. But you probably know this one. What is it? Like, this list test them.
Oh, see, I don't know, but I'm on Central Standard Time, so I'm gonna say 7 o'clock to 7:10. Yeah, even the Central Standard Time is screwing me up. I've been here for like 2 days.
Thank you, Kevin.
No, thank
for
you.
your